Welcome to the Be It Till You See It podcast, where we talk about taking messy action, knowing that perfect is boring. I'm Lesley Logan, Pilates instructor and fitness business coach. I've trained thousands of people around the world, and the number one thing I see stopping people from achieving anything is self-doubt. My friends, action brings clarity, and it's the antidote to fear. Each week, my guests will bring bold, executable, intrinsic, and targeted steps that you can use to put yourself first and be it till you see it. It's a practice, not a perfect. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Be It Till You See It interview recap, where my co-host in life and I are going to dig into the stabilizing convo I had with Jenny Swisher in our last episode. If you haven't yet listened to that interview, feel free to pause this now and go back and listen to that one, and then come back and join us.
Yeah.
I think it could also have been a synchronicity or a synchronized convo, because that would go with her sync. Anyways, just my notes. Oh my God, I love my team. Okay. So we're currently in Chicago at Pilates on Tour. It's my first time back to Pilates on Tour for Balanced Body, speaking for them since 2019, actually. So that's really exciting. And I brought Brad this time because last time I did it alone, and it's way more fun when Brad's there. So mostly because people just go, "Where's Brad?" And so it's just easier to bring him, and then they can ask him how he's doing. Also, if you're not in Chicago, we got something special going on. Y'all remember John Malora from the pod, and we actually had him do a course for us at Profitable Pilates, and it's really great. It is all about getting past your imposter syndrome. And y'all, I know that this is a course you're like, "Oh yeah, I need to do that." And then you'll go, won't buy that one because you're like, "I need the strategy on how to actually get more clients." I promise you right now, what's keeping you from more clients is not a strategy, it's your mindset. And so you need this course, and it's 30% off this week only. And if you're listening to this in, a year from now, it's not on sale, but it's still great and you should get it. It's amazing stuff. And then when we come back and the sale is over, we have our Vegas retreat at our house.
Yeah.
We are so excited. My sister's coming up to help us, which is it's going to be so fun.
Yeah, it's going to be an amazing week. We're going to be doing Pilates in the morning and digging into the customer journey for businesses, for both brick and mortar and online businesses.
Yeah.
Plus, we're going to have a photo shoot.
I know, so fun. Monica's
and great
back.
Food. We've got a new restaurant that we're bringing for lunches. Y'all don't even know.
We're so obsessed with this place. Yeah. We had them deliver every meal during the week of Mini. And then because I'm not sick of it yet, they are also delivering our lunches for the retreat, which I'm so stoked about. It's an amazing local restaurant. And then we recover from all this, and then we head out to Cambodia.
Yeah, we do. I can't wait. It's going to be so fun.
Oh my gosh. If you are wanting to get the course, it's profitablepilates.com/courses. If you're wanting to come on the Cambodia retreat, it is lesleylogan.co/retreat. These links are in the show notes. There's a really fun thing you can do on your phone, everyone. You just go to the pod and you'll see it. It's like a play or a pause thing. And if you just keep swiping it up, it actually has a bunch of notes that our team does a really good job making sure you can get all the bullet points, all the Instagram handles, all the links to anything I talk about. I just say something, and then they're like, "Oh, here's the link for that." So they're all there to help you out.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, and bravo, our team spends tons of time putting everything together just for you. So if you haven't ever checked that out, take a peek.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about Jenny Swisher today.
Yeah. But first, we had an audience question. And this is 2 recaps in a row. It's a very personal question. So this is another one for Lesley. And again, talking about personal health. And the question was, is it true that there was a number of years where you never had your period?
Correct. There was many years. You know what? I was definitely of the generation of women who's like, "I don't want a period." And I hope someday that we teach children, boys and girls, what a period is. We talked about that with Jen Pike on her episode. because it would be really great if we didn't see it as a negative thing. Anyways, I was inconsistent through junior high and high school. When I did have one, they were awful. And so when I was put on birth control to make them easier, I ended up getting a blood clot, actually. But I was on a particularly new birth control, and my doctors had told me that the blood clot was from the car accident I was in and not from the patch I was on. And so, which I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. Like the blood clot was in the same leg that I had an injury. No big deal. I was on bed rest. But then when I met with a doctor years later and I told her about my family history, she looked at everything. She was like, you should not be on hormones. So then she took me off the birth control, which, by the way, birth control, just so you all know, is not a real period. So it was just telling my body to have a period. But I actually, like, you're not going through a cycle. So when I got off the birth control, it's not abnormal. I didn't have one because my body had to like figure out what it does, but it had never figured that out before the birth control. So like I had no idea what normal was for me. And, so it didn't come back. I went through acupuncture for fertility just to bring it back, and it didn't bring it back. And so it took a copper IUD to bring it back, and I don't necessarily recommend that. I wish I had. But even after that, you know, with your health, I lost it during my health stuff because I got too lean. So my body fat percentage went too low.
Yeah, and the high stress and the lack of sleep. I mean, the combination of all the things that were going on. I
forgot about that period of time.
Like basically, your body was just like, we're just going to skip this part of it.
Yeah, we're not doing that. Your body will do some interesting things to keep you fucking alive. So, at any rate, I wish I had known what I know now about things. Like I think I would have handled it all differently to get the period back in the first place. And I think I would have been.
What does that specifically mean? What would you have done differently?
So there is a book called After the Pill or Beyond the Pill, After the Pill. And it really is a very educational book on like what happens when you go off birth control. And what
Beyond the Pill.
Yeah.
And that is a 30-day program to balance your hormones, reclaim your body, and reverse the dangerous side effects of the birth control pill.
Yeah.
And that is by Jolene Brighton, doctor.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wish I had like just any preparation whatsoever for that. And I also wish I would have known how key to your health having a period is, like how it actually is a natural period is, how it is a sign of things working out well. And I think I probably also, when I lost it again during my health stuff with my stomach, would have probably been able to fight a little bit more for myself, or at least done more research myself if I really understood the power of it all. And now we're good. We're good to go. Everything is, well, we're learning what the new cycle is because we don't have the IUD anymore. So ladies, if you are on some sort of birth control, I'm not saying get off of it. I am saying it is worth educating yourself around those things. And because there are things around long-term birth control use that are not great. However, I didn't have one. I also didn't have doctors around me that were concerned. Their responses really were, well, it just takes time. Well, you were on this for a while, so it takes time. My acupuncturist seemed very concerned and was trying her darndest. She had me drinking every fucking weird tea under the sun. So awful. But if you are someone who is excited to skip your period, or you are without one and not really worried about it, I'm not saying go get stressed out about it, because I would never want you to do that. But it is important. It's an important part of like the female body and the health of it. And you know, go back and listen to Jen Pike's episode. Might have brought it up in Dr. Bender's episode. And then Jenny Swisher is also, she's got so much information for you. You should check out her site. And I'm trying out this little doodad.
She's about to release an app.
Yeah, she's got an app, and I'm trying out this little doodad that she's got, because basically it's a sign your hormones are off. And if your hormones are off,
yeah,
it's only a matter of time before it's not just your sexual hormones that are off. It's going to affect your sleep. It's going to affect your digestion. We're not compartments. So.
Yeah, this is a perfect transition right into talking about our guest, Jenny Swisher.
Yeah, let's talk about her.
Okay, now let's talk about Jenny Swisher. From a struggle that started in her 20s, having to do with chronic migraines and hormone imbalances, Jenny Swisher has been on a lifetime journey of self-discovery and becoming her own best doctor. She is a holistic health coach, a mom. She's an advocate for women working with their hormones for total wellness. And hormones is the key. It's really, really an interesting conversation, what you have with her. Stuff I never thought about and didn't know about. Really fascinating. Her mission is to bridge the gap between the medical community and functional wellness. So it was a very revealing conversation. I know that we described it as a stabilizing convo. It is stabilizing. But first off, she talked about stuff that I had never really considered before, and the logic that she presented behind it was pretty straightforward. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this is important.
Yeah.
How come I never knew this before?
Well, I think what's interesting, I'm going to sound like some weirdo, but I just need to say this. Most of the issues that we have, the solution to the problem has very little to do with drugs. And
right.
Because no one can make money off of the solution, no one promotes the solution. But really, like it's this very interesting thing that if we just had these answers from when we were children getting to know our bodies, then we would know things were off. So
yeah, what I wanted to, I'm just going to quickly recap, and I'll keep this brief here because you can and you should go back and listen to her episode. But for context about the points we're going to go through here, I think that it's important to remember. She talks about the four-legged chair.
Oh yeah.
The analogy of how your hormones, your endocrine system, like the four legs of the endocrine system. And the first leg is your sex hormones, which she said is progesterone and other things. The second is your cortisol or your adrenals, and that's your sleep and stress. The third is your thyroid, and then the last is your blood sugar. And so your sex hormones, cortisol, your thyroid, and your blood sugar, those are the four legs of your hormonal, your endocrine system. And she said they all sit on top of your gut health. Mm-hmm. Right? So your gut health will affect each and every one of those, and they all will affect each other because she obviously said if you cut off an inch of your, the leg for the, your thyroid, it's going to affect the other three legs because the chair will be wobbly, right? Yeah. So those, what we're about to go through with the different points that we're talking about, just keep that in mind. She's talking about the four legs of your hormone, your endocrine system.
Yeah. So what I love that she said, I love that she brought up is that research for dieting, fasting, working out has been done mostly on men. So this is very true. This is not an opinion. Like there is so much research on this. One of our favorite shows, John Oliver, even did a whole thing on this. And there's a whole science experiment on this cancer research on ovaries, and the people didn't have ovaries. They were men.
Right.
And so it's like, what scientist?
Yeah. How are you possibly doing research on a body that doesn't have the organs?
And so this means a typical workout calendar schedule is not designed for women. So if you are trying to lose weight or get healthy, whatever that means to you, or just have a better sleep cycle, a lot of the research out there is for a men's hormonal cycle, which is 24 hours, and ours is between 28 and 31 or 32 days. So it's just not going to work. So she brought up, you can cycle sync your workouts for maximum benefits, which is like you could compare your workouts to your hormones. So it's like, I do this all the time. I use an app that helps me, just tells me oh, these are the types of workouts you can do right now. Yeah. And so it's actually made a massive difference in my energy levels, my ability to recover from a workout, my improvements, the strengths I've been able to make. And I also am a lot kinder to myself when I fucking don't feel like it. It's like, oh, well, that.
Also, too, I think that, you know, from the sitting on the sidelines here, it helps me as your partner to, why are you not doing the thing, right? Because it was specifically for me, we work together, y'all, if you didn't figure that out. We film classes for OPC, and often she would have them on her calendar, and it would be like really stressful for me when she had to film during the week. And I was like, this sucks. I don't want to be around you when you're filming classes, because if something would go wrong, it was like a really big deal. If something got, like, if there was loud noises, it would become a really big deal. And I was like, I can't control everything. I try, but it's not possible. And it was super stressful for me, and it felt like I was walking on eggshells. And then
we moved the classes to a different week of my cycle.
Yeah.
And it's like so much more fun.
Yeah, I didn't think about this, but like we were just like, okay, on the second week of every month, you're going to film. And that was just our work schedule, right? And so not just your work out schedule, but, you know, working too, this will affect your work. And then when you said, hey, what if we changed it? And then you explained to me why. I was like, I mean, for me, I was like, whatever, I don't care. We'll move it to whatever other week. It doesn't matter. And it has been night and day difference for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, because my cycle was 8 days, and now without the IUD, it's like 4 days. We're in a journey. I have to change the week that it's happening. I'm just gonna piss off everybody because I gotta switch it. But at the same time, like I really do.
But you're aware of that now.
Yes.
Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, and so this is not something I am a professional knowledge person in, like Jenny is, but like ever since I discovered this, I'm like, how many experts can I get on this show to talk about this? Because most of the people listening to this are females, or identify as one, and the reality is that you're going to have days where you do not want to show up in front of people.
Sure.
So when you are aware of that in your cycle, you give yourself permission to go inward and reflect on what you've done this month, what has worked, what's going on. And then you make plans for when you're ready to bloom up and like be out there in the world, so you can be it till you see it during those days where it feels so comfortable, so ready, instead of like fighting with it and trying to make sure that every single day looks like the next day. You're not a dude. It's not going to work.
You're not a dude. Yeah.
Now they have their own thing they have to worry about, but that's a different person's Be It Till You See It podcast.
Well, I really loved that she said you can become obsessed with something to the point where you become an expert.
I know. I think some people get a little weird about like their obsession around things. And it's like, it goes back to last week's episode, like your pain becomes your program. Like, freaking, why not you be the expert?
Well, I definitely, I understand this. But I got a little weird about, you know, Jenny Swisher has been on a lifetime journey of self-discovery and becoming her own best doctor. And literally that one word, doctor, made me go, how can she be her own best doctor? Right. And I think that, not in a literal sense of I went to med school and I've got a degree from a university that now says I have the title of doctor, but more in the figurative sense of a doctor is supposed to be a proponent of your health, is supposed to be able to help you in your health. And so, you know, she became obsessed with something, meaning the anatomy of, you know, her female anatomy, her, like the inner workings of her body, how it was all working, and specifically the struggles that she was having from migraines, right? Because she said the migraines were debilitating. They weren't just like, oh, I had a headache. It was like 2 days of her 100% out of commission, could not function migraine. And how does that happen? And her conclusion after not be getting the results that she needed from going to a doctor was, oh, my hormones are actually affecting my migraines. And specifically, it was when she had gone off of birth control. And so, and she said it took her years to put the dots together and be like, when I stopped birth control, I started getting migraines. She didn't know how, she didn't see it before, but suddenly it became very clear. And then, okay, now how can I resolve that since I don't want to go back on birth control? And that literally sent her down this whole path.
Yeah. So she is her own best doctor because the doctors we're not able to put those together either.
And now she can legitimately say, I'm an expert on these things. I mean, she's been studying it for, years, right? She's been working in it, studying it, talking about it, reading about it, I mean, all these things for so many years. And so while she may not be able to be hired to diagnose someone in a medical sense from that way, she can provide you a lot of information around these subjects from her own experience.
I think she has a course, and it goes back to all the things she's developing, and then you can take that information.
She actually has a quiz.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the hormone imbalance quiz, and we will make sure to include that. We included it in the show notes of last episode, but we'll include it again in this one.
And then you can take all that information, and then you can go back to Jessica Vallon's episode and then advocate for yourself where it is needed. And I think I was so excited to have these two women back to back because like I said in the last episode, I really do see one of the big things holding women back from showing up the way they want to on this planet is their health issues. And one can be also around their cycle. If your cycle is off, again, there are, we talked about it, I believe in Jen Pike's episode, like about the different phases of your cycle. And the truth is if you are trying to do something outside of what your cycle wants to do, you're not going to feel very good about it. And then because most women who listen to this do this, you start to shame, blame, judge yourself.
Sure.
And then that spirals you out of being until you see it. And so I really
want to... it jacks up your habits that you've created for yourself because, it just hijacks everything. So
I just really wanted to have these two ladies together. And like I said, I'll have more women's health advocates on because I really do see, like, sometimes it's not the next habits or mindset mantra. It's oftentimes like your body and how you feel in it and all of that. So anyways, I liked what you liked.
I think also too, there's this idea of the 10,000 hours, you're an expert in your field, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I think that one of the exercises that I love to do with those who come through agency, our fitness business coaching program, is I work backwards with them and I say, okay, how long have you been teaching? And they say, 10 years. Okay, amazing. How long did you study before you were allowed to teach? A year, 2 years, something like that. Okay, what are the certification programs that you did? How many hours were those programs? 600 hours, 200 hours. It was a weekend. Or it was a whole year, whatever, right? And then, okay, how much have you been teaching in that time? I've been teaching, 10 clients a week for 8 years. Amazing. Add up all those hours. You know what? You're probably like... You've probably thousands of hours of experience under your belt with this thing that you're doing, whether it's yoga or Pilates or whatever it is. And the reality is the more you stay focused on something, the more you are an expert in it. So it's probable to also look at your life and be like, wow, I'm an expert in this thing.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool.
It is really cool. I think she's amazing. I really am into what she's doing. So I hope y'all are having fun getting synced with her.
All right. So finally, let's talk about those beit action items. What bold, executable, intrinsic, or targeted action items can we take away from your conversation with Jenny Swisher? Make sure you're eating enough of the right foods. Okay. And she said specifically, most women need to increase their protein intake.
Most people. We just told my father.
Yeah, your dad.
So,
the same thing.
Yeah, most people are not actually eating enough protein, and ladies, especially as you're going into menopause, you're gonna freaking want to do that. So I say that because I think that's the next phase that I'm going in my life, and I'm like, where's the protein? But yeah, I loved this. I love this take. I think. So I think you just, I don't know, most women need to increase their protein intake. I'm not really sure how to help you with that as far as obviously there's shakes and there's animal proteins. I would definitely make sure if you're doing shakes, please watch the ingredients that are put into these things. Make sure they come from a reputable source, do your research, but also count them. Take a week and count
I think that's what we can recommend to you because we can't tell you if protein is what you need more of or not. It's just a generalization. But what Jenny was saying is that you have to be eating the right foods. How do you know if you're eating the right foods? That's something that you're going to have to figure out with blood work and doctors and stuff like that, where I'm going to need more of this thing.
I think a simple thing you can do though is just for 1 week, track your protein. Look at if you're having a chicken breast, like weigh the chicken breast. You can find out how much protein is in that. You don't have to weigh it forever, but like once you have an idea, like, oh, the chicken breast, it's the size of my hand, is this much protein.
Yeah.
Then you'll always know that. And so you don't have to do this forever. You don't have to like, I know like for a lot of people, like the last thing they want to do is actually count their grams of protein. But it's not the same as counting calories. It's very specific. And so you can see on average how much you're getting. And I have heard from many a medical professional, a gram for every pound you weigh. Or so you want to weigh.
Is this macros? Is this what we're talking about effectively?
Yes.
Yeah, which I know nothing about.
Yes. So if you are interested in macros coaching, we can go back to several guests, Lana McClung, Giselle Shore, and Amber Shaw, and they all can tell you how the hell you should count your proteins.
Yep.
But I have, we had Jenny Van Bardeveld Pay on, and she just had a podcast about like, it's, if you don't want people to see you weighing your food, you can simply say, I am working on making sure I'm getting enough nutrients in my system, and I'm doing it for the week to see on average what I'm doing. That it doesn't have to be a weird thing, but you can't make sure you're doing that unless you track it for a while. And then you can, at this point in my life with certain things, I don't have to do those things. So I'm like, I know how much protein is in my thing here. So I know that stuff, but it is a key thing that and it's a very easy-ish thing to add in.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It's not quite as complicated as it used to be. So, okay. Now
it's my turn.
What about you?
Yeah. So y'all, if you have a cycle, I want you tracking it. So she is developing an app. There are other apps out there. I do know that in the current U.S. climate, a lot of people are afraid of doing that. So I am aware of that. However,
I think there's actually lawsuits about it right now happening in the U.S. court system.
Yeah.
About effectively sharing information. There's been a really intense like abortion argument happening here in our country.
Everyone knows.
Yeah, and I'm sure you all know. But basically, the fear is that the apps...
well, they're not HIPAA compliant, so they can sell people's information, and they already have.
The apps aren't HIPAA compliant. But either way, even so, the fear is still that the policing forces, can tap into this information. Yeah. Anyway, there's a huge court case happening right now to block them from doing that.
If you don't want to use an app, you can use your own calendar and just, make sure that you can put like a P on there. You could put like a red heart or something. And then what I would highly recommend you do is like do that every day of your cycle and then go back to the first day and have it repeat in 28 days. And if you're a little early or a little late, then you can adjust and you should be able to see I'm on a 28-day cycle, as I mentioned. Well, we're going to find out what that is now that it's a 4-day period. Anyway, sorry. I shouldn't be jumping into it. I just said like we should like love our periods, but I went from 8 to 4. So y'all, this is like my life has changed. But do whatever you can do. I do use an app. I am unaware if they are protecting if they have any protection. I've been emailing them to find out. But the app is actually out of a different country. So I'm not even sure that it is like a problem that I have to worry about. I like it because it does tell me what phase I am in. If you are someone where you are beyond a monthly cycle, you are in menopause, please go with the moon cycle and use the moon cycle as your cycle. And that will actually help you to know when you are waxing and when you are waning in your hormones. And so there's a lot of research you can do on that. And then,
actually, I just pulled up Jenny's website while you were sharing that. And she actually has an entire episode of her podcast dedicated to tracking your menstrual cycle.
Great.
From April 5th, 2022. We will leave the link to her website in the show notes where you can see her blog post around that and you can listen to her episode as well.
Yeah. And then I also love that she said, find a functional medical practitioner near you. This is really helpful. She gave actual steps so you can go back and listen to that on how to do it. But honestly, like just because, and I love that she said that just because they're functional medicine doctors, I mean, they're right one for you. And then you can listen back to Jessica Vallant's episode and our recap episode about finding a doctor that works for you. It is annoying when the first doctor you go to isn't the right doctor. Keep going. Keep going. There are right people out there for you. And I love we had Dr. Bender on. I love her because I'm like, She's been also following like how my health and stomach will change after I don't have my IUD anymore. And it is insane. Some of the stuff that I always thought my stomach were not my stomach at all. So it's just, your body is its own interesting thing, and get to know it. Like, get to know it, because that's going to help you be able to listen to it for not just like how you are today with like your health, but also like what your gut is telling you, like your actual gut, not your stomach, like your gut instinct is telling you to do in this world, how to act as if you are already the person you want to be, because you are it. You just have to step into those shoes. And the more you get to know yourself, the easier that's going to be.
Yeah.
All right, I'm Lesley Logan.
And I'm Brad Crowell.
How are you going to use these tips in your life? We want to know. Tag Jenny Swisher, tag the Beit Pod, share this with your friends. Like, seriously, share this with your friends. Yeah. One of our agency members, Claire Sparrow, she has this thing. I'm going to have her on one day, but she is like, women are not telling other women about the stuff that they're going through, because it's like this weird, like we have this weird conversation, like it's weird. So just share it. And then it's not weird. You're like, hey, I was just listening to this. Check it out. What do you think? That's a great conversation starter.
Totally.
So do it. And until next time, be it till you see it.
Bye for now.
That's all I got for this episode of the Be It Till You See It podcast. One thing that would help both myself and future listeners is for you to rate the show and leave a review. And follow or subscribe for free wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, make sure to introduce yourself over at the Be It Pod on Instagram. I would love to know more about you. Share this episode with whoever you think needs to hear it. Help us and others be it till you see it. Have an awesome day.
Be It Till You See It is a production of As the Crows Fly Media.
It's written, produced, filmed, and recorded by your host, Lesley Logan, and me, Brad Crowell. Our associate producer is Amanda Frattarelli.
Kevin Perez at Disenyo handles all of our audio editing.
Our theme music is by Ali at Apex Production Music, and our branding by designer and artist Gianfranco Cioffi.
Special thanks to our designer Jairo Mandal for creating all of our visuals, which you can't see because this is a podcast, and our digital producer Jay Perdoso for editing all the video each week so you can.
And to Angelina Herrico for transcribing each of our episodes so you can find them on our website. And finally, to Meredith Crowell for keeping us all on point and on time.